Okay. Now we have something like yeah. There's like many videos dedicated to Daniel Larson, many wikis dedicated to Daniel Larson. You know. Yeah, current era, the second jail arc. Chronology, the before era. Daniel at 5 months old. Yeah, interesting. Notice how he has all of his teeth compared to recently where he doesn't have much teeth. Oh man. 5'10" and weighs 119 pounds. Yeah, like he's older than me, you know. Call him Zoomer Christian. Mentally ill internet personality and convicted criminal. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is made aware doxing is both illegal and immoral. Like, I'm moving into a new house with my family, and I'm aware that there's a possibility some trolls would try to dox the house address. And if that's so, like, it's just gonna prove their stupidity even further. Like, considers himself a celebrity, world famous musician that billions of people know. Oh my. Oh my. That billions of people know. He is confirmed to have autism, bipolar disorder, PTSD, and most notably schizophrenia, which adds intense difficulty to his daily life. He assaults himself and others, including his elderly mentor, Bob Proctor, as well as destruction of both public and private property. He moved from house to house before becoming homeless. Contracted scabies, threatened to end. Wow. Wow. This guy is insane. Like, it is insane. Oh, wow. Daniel drinking a margarita on his 21st birthday. Hmm. Yeah. Well, in America, when you turn 21, you get to drink alcohol. Mind you, in Canada, like the legal drinking age, specifically in most provinces, is 19, except for Alberta and Manitoba, where the legal drinking age is 18. So, yeah. Another day at work. Another day at work. Oh, Jesus. From 2019 early 2020, Daniel's life would be relatively peaceful, him unknowing of what things to come. Oh, May 6th incident, where he shows his generals to a live TikTok of 500 people. What the fuck? Okay, that is a dildo, and someone fucking delivered that to his house. Oh, oh my god, that is a huge fucking dildo. That is a huge fucking dildo, man. Oh wait, I got that wrong. I saw it wrong. That ain't a huge dildo. Okay, I thought it was, but it looks, or is it a huge? No, it looks like it's being held in the hand of someone. Someone actually gifted him a dildo. Jesus Christ, those fucking trolls. Face of a madman. What the fuck? Reverse mohawk arc.
Got a room. Now let's be honest here. Daniel is the most gullible person on the face of the earth. I don't even know if gullible is a good enough word for it, but the fact that these guys can constantly, day by day, tell him this, that he's got a hotel, tell him to go to Olive Garden because the Vanderwall family will be waiting for him, telling him to go to New York so he can meet Grace Vanderwall. He actually did that. It's like, when is he ever gonna be like capable of realizing, hey, maybe all these guys telling me this stuff that never ends up being true don't have my best interest in mind, and I shouldn't listen to them. But it's he.
Yeah, it reminds me of I remember when I pissed off a bunch of Ruben Sim fans, and they tried to troll me by thinking that the SWAT team's gonna come to my house and shit like that. They tried to troll me like that. It was like, but yeah, like to think that Daniel Larson, like the fact that you could tell him that someone reserved a hotel for him, like what the fuck, man? And he believes this. He believes this. Like, motherfucker, man.
He just can't plausibly do it, because I think that would go against his whole like worldview in general. He already thinks that him and Grace Vanderwall are like an item, even though this girl wants nothing to do with him, if she even knows he exists. And he has to have this facade of the world he thinks he lives in, to where they're a couple and he's a big famous music artist. Now, I'm not no mental health expert, but I really think this world that Daniel thinks he lives in is because he wants to get away from the sadness of just being homeless and really not having anybody there to call a friend or anything. So if this world like view ever gets shattered, he might lose his mind worse than we've ever seen him before. But luckily, I don't think that's ever going to happen, because Daniel strikes me as the person who's going to live his entire life simply being baited to do whatever the trolls want him to do, because at this point, the internet's going to be forever, ladies and gentlemen. In our lifetime, there is always going to be people like Daniel Larson, and there's going to be people online who want to mess with them. And I think this is the time in the video where I should say, to the people who troll Daniel, I get it. He's a predator, and you guys want him to face consequences for his actions. But I always implore these people, do not send him to public places. Stop putting him in positions to where he can possibly hurt other people. I get it, personal responsibility. But with someone like Daniel Larson, he never would have been at that hotel in the first place if someone hadn't told him that he had a room there. Now, can Daniel be to blame because he really just took this hook, line, and sinker and ran with it? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's now an unnecessary situation that these people at the hotel have to deal with, that the guy who trolled Daniel to do this could have completely avoided by just shutting his fucking mouth. Nonetheless, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's the end of the year, and 2023 was an absolutely insane year for Daniel Larson. I'm going to be working on a retrospective video covering his entire year, and when that's out, I hope you guys enjoy it. But for now, let me just tell y'all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I hope y'all have a great one, man. To you and yours, I hope all your family, everyone, all your friends, everyone has a great one this year, and that expands all the way into 2024 as well. You guys are absolute goats, and I wish you guys nothing but the best. And until the next video, I'm going to get out of here, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how bad things can be, You could always be a lot worse. You could always be Daniel Larson.
Yeah. Daniel Larson, not a good guy. Fortunately, he is not a good guy. He isn't famous, he's infamous, yeah. Says he's like leaving Colorado, like threatens to leave Colorado. Yeah, he was mad because she didn't care that he was famous and wouldn't give him whatever he wants. Damn, that's very narcissistic. Like, but like to be, you have to be this dumb to be this gullible to think that some stranger you don't know has booked a hotel room for you. But you'll be surprised on how stupid people can be. Like, and then you have like a jail arc. So yeah, he was released from jail, and then he would be arrested due to many threats he made towards businesses, family members, and most notably government entities and agencies. Yeah, that that is that is illegal. That is illegal. I remember Chris Chan. Like I remember his whole "die Trump, die" kind of shtick back in 2016. Now, don't get me wrong. I really do not like Donald Trump. He's a complete narcissist, but you know. So, general speculation would can deduce that he would serve anywhere from 4 to 10 months in prison from July 2026, meaning a release of no. Yeah, man, more like I think we all fuck up on the grammar check. Release on November 2026 to June 2027. Yeah, like this man is so unhinged. Man is like just when you expect the worst, it just keeps getting worse. Uh-huh. And then yeah, there are partner wikis. World of T-shirts wiki. We'll get to that. We'll get to Joshua Block. Okay. But yeah, I said many things I said before about Cyrax because Cyrax is a pretty interesting person. Like Cyrax has been pretty unhinged himself. But then I look at like Daniel Larson, I was like, holy shit. Holy shit. And like Jesus fucking Christ, man. Exposing himself at a local park. Officer arrested on his day off exposing himself. No, no, no. There was always this video muckhole. I mean, this YouTuber muckhole. The video of this YouTuber that the one that was recommended was, of course, lolcows. What happens when we abandon vulnerable people? It includes pictures of Chris Chan, Joshua Block, and Daniel Larson. So let's react to this again.
A lolcow, combining LOL or laugh out loud with cow, is internet slang for someone who can be milked for laughs at their own expense. In practice, it refers to an individual made into an online laughingstock, often without fully realizing it. These are people who attract audiences because onlookers find their behavior unintentionally funny or cringeworthy, not out of genuine fandom. Crucially, the lolcow usually isn't in on the joke. They may even think the attention means they're admired, confusing mockery for genuine support. Unfortunately, there's a disturbing trend behind this phenomenon. A significant number of these lolcow figures are vulnerable individuals, people with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities or other mental illnesses. Over and over, the internet discovers an eccentric or troubled personality, and a pile-on ensues.
So yeah, like Chris Chan is said to have autism. Joshua Block is said to have autism. Daniel Larson is said to have autism, but also bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and PTSD. And yeah. And then considering me, I have autism, obsessive compulsive disorder, seasonal affective disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and I'm likely going to be assessed for ADHD and major depressive disorder. So, and yet some people think that I have like schizophrenia. They think I have bipolar disorder. No, no. Think I have borderline personality disorder? No, no. Okay. I'm aware that I could possibly have ADHD and major depressive disorder. Let's go.
Trolls and so-called fans will encourage the person to engage in outrageous, self-destructive antics, all for entertainment. In a lot of cases, onlookers even egg them into harm's way, prompting them to self-harm, indulge addictions, or wreak havoc in public, simply because an audience finds someone else's pain, misery, and struggle entertaining. Misleading praise and relentless dares create a vicious cycle for these individuals. The lolcow chases approval they think is real, while the audience pushes them further over the edge for laughs. So why do people participate in this? The appeal is morbidly simple. Misery loves company. Troll communities feed off the negative drama and thrive off the struggles of others, finding a perverse sense of satisfaction in watching someone's life derail. It's addictive content, a real
Yeah. That is that, man. Like, many people are just wanting to know where the rabbit hole goes. Many people are just watching some train eventually derail. Eventually, they're just waiting for something to just explode. Like some stars in the night sky, like Antares and Betelgeuse, Anita Karini, for example, like they're known to have like they're known to possibly be supernova candidates, and they're possibly like they many of them go through transient luminous events. I do know there's a star system located in Scorpius known as Shala, and that seems to also have a star that is a supernova candidate. And and yeah, the star Shala is like at the tail's end of Scorpius, and it barely rises where I live. But only it rises like less than 2 degrees above the horizon. But I have seen the star from up there with my binoculars, by the way. I've actually used the binoculars to actually see the star. It was actually visible with the binoculars. And it's best observed during the summer, you know? But yeah, I'm kind of going off topic now. I'm fucking hell, how did I doze off like that? Yeah, these people yeah, like what Daniel Larson and Joshua Block have in common is their freakouts and unhinged behavior, and they do it a lot. They're very vulnerable.
Real life train wreck you can't look away from, and platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and dedicated forums make it easy to gawk at. But unlike typical stars that go viral who might actually be uplifted by fans, lolcow audiences do the exact opposite. They actively pressure the person into more impulsive or erratic behavior. Today's cheers turn into tomorrow's mockery as community.
Yeah, I remember that one time Call Me Cicada actually convinced me to sing like an acapella version, or is it an acapella, or is it, no, it's not. No, it's just actually me singing without instrumentals to Linkin Park's in the end.
Communities oscillate between fake support and outright harassment, keeping the lolcow perpetually off balance. What's especially troubling is how a whole economy has formed around milking lolcows. Views and clicks translate to money, and a network of content creators has sprung up to supply the demand for lolcow drama. Entire forums like the notorious Kiwi Farms and countless subreddit or Discord groups are devoted to tracking lolcow antics. Kiwi Farms in particular became infamous. It started as a site to catalog the life of one early lolcow, more on him later, and now deems itself as a community, discussing eccentric people who voluntarily make fools of themselves.
How old is that video? Oh, 2025.
Absolute bullshit. In reality, many of their targets don't volunteer for the abuse they get. They're often people lacking the social awareness to realize how they.
Yeah, I seriously fucking regret being a part of Kiwi Farms. It's just something I feel so ashamed of. But unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that that website was a domestic terrorist forum. Okay, I don't want to bring them any more attention, but someone brings it up.
Appear, or they're lacking the coping skills to handle life in general, much less thousands of people actively messing with them. What started as a small phenomenon on lucrative forums or Reddit posts or Discords, on YouTube, commentary channels have turned lolcow content into a lucrative genre. Creators like Turkey Tom, Smokey McSee, and Kiwi Tapes routinely produce lolcow documentaries or reaction videos that highlight the most humiliating moments of these individuals' lives. They morally grandstand about their subjects' flaws, painting lolcows as horrible people whose antics deserve exposure.
And one thing I also found out is that Nova Online actually had a Kiwi Farms account to argue with the trolls on his own page.
But their comments mirror high school bullies targeting the special needs kid for a laugh. There's even a grotesque sense of spectacle. Like Kiwi Tapes and his associate Smokey McSee both post videos regularly documenting these people and host a degenerate live stream where they sit around and make fun of lolcows. These YouTubers often collaborate and share info. The tone of this content is self-congratulatory. These creators act like intrepid investigators or vigilantes exposing the misdeeds of the lolcow. But in all actuality, they're just getting paid to harass a complete stranger online just because that person is different or unattractive.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, like what I seen before, many people who fuck with the lolcows eventually become the lolcows. Like, do I really need to make this remark? Many people have said that people on kiwi farms are lolcows themselves. Like 4chan doesn't like kiwi farms. Encyclopedia Dramatica doesn't like kiwi farms. And I think they seem to just get driven away from it because of kiwi farms. Yeah, like yeah. My real autism life story, Andrew D. Oh, okay. King Cobra JFS's new woman. Daniel Larson's new delusions. More Topiachi rage. Hmm. Man. Yeah. Yeah, it's just sad that King Cobra JFS, like, passed away. Like this video was uploaded almost 2 weeks before King Cobra JFS passed away. Like, you know, like, I really like King Cobra JFS. Like, I really do. Like, he was one of the more likable people who was considered like a lol cow. He was one of the more likable people, you know, compared to people like Daniel Larson. Now, with that being said, I mean, I don't hate Daniel Larson, but like, again, like, some ways it may tempt me to feel sorry for Daniel Larson until you find out what he does, the terrible things he does, and it's just hard. You know, like, honestly.
To them. It's bullying for profit, thinly cloaked as internet journalism or justice. To be fair though, not every so-called lolcow is mentally disabled or innocent. There are some exceptions where relatively mainstream but disliked figures get this label. For example, certain controversial gaming streamers or vloggers with no diagnosed disabilities have been dubbed lolcows after repeated public meltdowns. The dark side Phils or wings of redemptions of the internet are mocked largely for their behavior and attitude, not a cognitive
Okay, so I don't think they have cognitive impairments, but I like Wings of Redemption. From what I've heard, he happens to have bipolar disorder. I think. I know, like there was this person, Noshin Tohoshi, who also had bipolar disorder, and yeah, she like considered herself disabled because she can't even control herself. Well, I mean, like if bipolar disorder gets severe enough, it could really be crippling. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, none of them had Darkseid Bill in Wings of Redemption. Neither of them had autism. Like unlike me, you know, I have autism.
impairment. But those cases only prove the rule. When a person isn't particularly vulnerable, trolls usually just call them idiots or scumbags and move on. It's the truly vulnerable individuals, those with autism, schizophrenia, intellectual delays, severe trauma, or who knows what, are those that become long-term lolcow targets.
Yeah. Yeah, schizophrenia, like that, like schizophrenia could really mess with someone's mind. Like, from what I've heard, people get hallucinations, auditory, tactile, and of course, visual hallucinations. Even if they don't get hallucinations, they can still appear like very delusional, you know? Schizophrenia could really cripple someone, you know, and make them very dysfunctional. Many people's lives were ruined because of it.
Precisely because they're easy to provoke and less equipped to defend themselves. If these people weren't mentally ill or impaired, they'd likely just be widely hated for any bad behavior, not endlessly exploited as an ongoing clown show. The cruel truth is that lolcow farmers pick the low-hanging fruit. They target people who can't fully fight back or comprehend the game, and then they milk them under the pretense of documenting bad behavior. Let's look at a few specific cases, some of the internet's most notorious lolcows, just to see how this pattern plays out in practice and how tragic it can become. One of TikTok's recent cautionary tales is Joshua Block, also known by his handle World of T-Shirts. Josh started out as a quirky, geeky kid from Long Island who loved making upbeat dancing videos. By 2020, at around age 19 or 20, he had gained millions of followers filming himself singing and dancing at tourist spots. A wholesome, somewhat awkward local celebrity. Notably, Josh is on the autism spectrum, and in high school, he had actually thrived with a supportive network and family. He was an honor roll student and even a track athlete, defying the low expectations some had for him back then.
Said he knew Block had good eyes since he was a child. He's gifted. So he gifted his grandson a Nikon camera when he was a child, framing the world around. Oh, he's a photographer like me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was interested. I was always interested in like multimedia, specifically like photography, videography, and audiography. Mm-hmm. Like he's pretty athletic. That's unlike me. I always get out of shape. I always get out of shape, but you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do some incredible feats like climbing up a 700-meter high mountain. Well, actually, it's prominence. The elevation, like prominence, is like 700 meters, I think. Well, the elevation is like over 2,000 meters. Yeah, and basically, I climbed that, and I noticed like after I climbed up that mountain, it was Sulphur Mountain, by the way. Sulphur Mountain, like I climbed up that, basically like I was over reliant on the water. I was super over reliant on the water, and you know, it took me like 2 to 3 hours to climb that mountain, and you know, everyone else in my group were doing fine. I mean, it's not really a group; it's just a few people. Everyone else was doing fine, while I was really struggling, you know. But at least I climbed up the mountain, you know. Forgot to turn off the record player, you know. But you know, being athletic wasn't really my thing. But you know, I mean, I do like walking around, but you know, after the climb up Sulphur Mountain, you know, I was dealing with the effects of the of fatty liver, and I was having intense abdominal pain that was really killing me. Made it really hard to sleep. You know, either had it in my back or in my stomach. And yeah, how I managed to get rid of it is I had more of that garden salad that my parents would make for me, you know. And mind you, the texture of vegetables was the reason why I didn't really eat vegetables until like around you know until around I reached my 20s, you know. It's like and now it's like I could eat almost anything, you know. But like 10 years ago I was definitely definitely a picky eater. I would say no vegetables on my orders and stuff like that. But now it's like I eat basically whatever I like to eat. You know, I feel gladness. You know, some people like are very picky eaters. I know I used to be one of them, but you know, I would have the garden salad almost every day. And I still do have that garden salad almost every day. You know, I put it beside whatever they cook me, and I just eat it. Especially like it with the chicken mistake sauce. That was good. That was good, you know. Yes, the salad in question included like lettuce, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes specifically, cucumber, and of course, I think it's dried pomegranates, I guess, and pumpkin seeds, and yeah, and that also includes like the Jamaican mistake sauce. Yeah, those were pretty good. I mean, you know, shall we move on?
Back then, his innocent, almost childlike enthusiasm was part of the charm. As his grandfather said, Josh is himself, he does it all alone. Proud that his autistic grandson was fearlessly putting himself out there. However, once Josh became an adult, darker influences seeped in. The same addictive personality that led him to chug the boba and coffee on camera. It was harmless fun back then. Made him an easy mark once he turned 21 and discovered alcohol. His content shifted to partying and binge drinking in New York bars and streets, often on live stream. Instead of cautioning him, much of his online audience cheered this behavior on. Viewers would actually encourage Josh's excessive drinking to see what wild, outrageous things he might do on camera next.
Alcohol, yeah, like they take advantage of him with the alcohol that you tell him to drink all that alcohol to see whatever how much of a fucked up situation he gets to be in. Ugh, fucking Christ. Yeah, I know. I know about his alcoholism, you know. But the fact that they cheer him on with this whole alcoholism, like, that's not something to fucking cheer on. Like, come on, man. I mean, there's times where I've been drunk, including that one time in 2022 where I was insanely drunk because I drank a cup full of this, like, 30% alcohol. And yeah, I didn't realize that it would make me, like, severely drunk and I passed out, probably. But, you know, that is very sporadic. That is very sporadic, you know? But like Joshua Block, he would just drink that thing. Like, I, either you get drunk from the alcohol, or it just gets past the drunk phase and just enters the hangover. Yeah, like
In effect, internet strangers were treating him like a wind up toy. The drunker Josh got, the more extreme and entertaining his behavior came to them, so they kept pushing it. Josh had no one positive looking out for his well being. His mother had died of cancer when he was in his teens,
oh,
and his
that
father,
sucks.
who also struggled with addiction, was out of the picture. He lived with his grandparents, but once he was roaming Manhattan making videos, the internet became his main social circle. Sensing this vulnerability like some sort of sick vultures, some opportunists deemed Josh as handlers, even leeched onto him in real life. A middle-aged man named Michael Quinn began hanging out with Josh during his bar crawls, ostensibly as a friend, but in reality, Quinn was exploiting Joshua's alcoholism for clout and money. Quinn would appear in Joshua's live streams and videos, buying rounds of drinks or facilitating stunts, all the while growing his own online following from the spectacle. Quinn financially benefited by promoting himself and even directly using Josh's meltdowns as content. Let's just say many of Josh's genuine fans have accused Quinn of not having his best interests at heart, to put it mildly. Whole forums began to spring up to discuss and monitor his every move. There's a subreddit with thousands of members dedicated to just World of T-Shirts gossip. The commentators in those circles share each new incident. Joshua passing out on a subway, Josh vomiting in public, Josh getting into a drunken shouting match, and so on and so forth. Rather than expressing any concern, many find it hilarious, basically just egging him to chug more. A lot of trolls even take it offline, approaching him in person to solely provoke a reaction on video. The classic, "Put the fries in the bag, Josh." Yeah, real funny, dude. It must be said that Josh's behavior deteriorated sharply under his toxic spotlight. By 2023, nearly every TikTok he posted showed him bleary-eyed in his signature sea captain's hat, openly chugging vodka, beer, wine, whatever alcohol he could get his hands on. He started blacking out regularly. He'd wake up on trains not knowing where he was. In one video, he's so inebriated he urinates on himself while he's passed out. Just fodder for endless mockery on Reddit. He went viral for some other troubling incidents too. In a now infamous clip, Josh stomps on a live fish that someone had bizarrely gifted him as a prank, laughing while
Yeah, this is just what a fucking downward spiral. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. That is that is such a downward spiral. I mean, I've seen that video before, but inebriated, that seems like a new word that I just only only recently started to manifest in my vocabulary. Inebriated. Man, like, yeah. Mind you, it was only recently I figured out how to use, like, the transit to go to Calgary, but, yeah, like I could, like, yeah, I could, like, take the bus across, the city of Airdrie, or take the bus to Airdrie, from Airdrie to Calgary, and back. But, mind you, like, they don't always, they, they operate only during the daytime, you know? Like, I've used the transit to go to places like, um, like I've used the transit to go to places like Tuscany. I went to like Sunridge Mall with that. Downtown Calgary, definitely that. Downtown Calgary, including the core shopping center. The Calgary Tower, I went there. The Calgary Zoo, also that too. And the Calgary Stampede, you know. CF Chinook Center, that one, I went to that mall with the transit, of course, like. And it was only this year that I figured out how to do the transit system. Someone was telling me that for a long time. It's and then I figure out I could just take the bus there. Mind you, I had to walk to get to the bus, but but sometimes I miss the bus and I feel like I don't want to wait another 60 minutes, you know? But yeah. This was the first time I used the transit pretty much by myself, honestly. I could experiment more with the Calgary Transit, how it takes you somewhere and something, you know. I've been to Japan. I've been to Tokyo and Osaka and Hiroshima and Kyoto. I've taken their transit, but it independent. Wasn't independent while doing it. But I'd love to go to Japan again. All right, I'm gonna have to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Be right back. anything going on? So it seems like nobody's commenting on me or trying to troll me. Calgary Transit. Okay. C train and buses at the Chinook station. Like, yeah. There was also this proposed green line, and it seems to be under construction. And yeah, like you can see it goes towards Airdrie, and yeah, I What was that shopping center, that mall that was torn down? I'm trying to remember now. There's a proposed LRT line, airport line. Okay, airport line, like. Proposed BRT line. hmm Blue line MRU link. Blue line MR. And then the airport line. Like, like walking out of the airport in Calgary, it's not very walkable. I mean, like, honestly, like, just making things more accessible and easier. Like, yeah, like winter, like that. And yeah, I don't really use transit as much during the winter, basically, because it's too fucking cold. Too fucking cold. Green line, yeah, there's gonna be like green line. What was service C train planned opening 2031? 2031? Damn. 2031, okay. Maybe what I can do is, you know, let's go with watching the whole thing about Joshua Block. Yeah, he's been to more countries than me. Like yeah, whenever he goes on an adventure, either someone gets hurt or like usually himself. Yeah.
Doing it too. The public outrage was immediate. He faced a massive backlash for animal cruelty. Josh
Well,
apologized, saying, "Okay, I'm
yeah. Well, to be honest, what he did to that fish Yeah, like he honestly deserves the backlash. I don't support any form of animal cruelty. Like, many people liked Hassan and stuff like that, but for me, Hassan is like, I it's hard to forgive this guy for abusing his dog. Other than that, that doesn't mean it. But other than that, doesn't mean you get to troll people like Joshua Block over doing something stupid like stepping on a fish. I mean, he deserves a backlash, but he shouldn't be trolled for that.
Sorry about the fish, it was wrong, but that apology was mostly ignored or disregarded, with some suspecting that he only apologized to try to get unbanned. In other cases, he's been caught on video ranting and using racial slurs, behavior that should have serious consequences.
Yeah, I agree. Like before I stream the video, I mean the live stream, like I remember watching a Daniel Larson video and he was screaming out threats and racial slurs. Oh yeah, like if you use like racial slurs unironically, then yeah, it's like really dumb behavior. But people say my freedom of speech and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. Shouting the N word with the hard R all the time is just completely stupid. Just completely. It makes you look like a fool doing it. It's still disruptive behavior, it's still disrespectful.
But online spectators oddly treat these incidents like part of the show, more clips to catalog under the lolcow lore. What's often missed in these conversations is how this behavior was shaped. It's by the audience and by the vacuum of any real support. This is someone who once had structure and supervision under his grandparents in school, but once becoming an adult and entering the public eye, was swept into an exploitative feedback loop of reinforcement. Without a strong social network to guide or protect him, his maladaptive behaviors were consistently rewarded with attention and novelty. If Josh hadn't become internet famous, he likely would have slipped through the cracks of society, quietly struggling with addiction, mental health, and grief and obscurity. Instead, he became a sideshow attraction, spiraling for the amusement of millions. His grandparents were eventually
Yeah, apparently the whole thing about Joshua Block is he's basically like a walking freak show, according to these people in the lolcow community, and they just treat him like a walking freak show.
pass away if they haven't already. And if the internet continues treating him like a cautionary tale instead of a person, there's gonna be no one left to catch him when he falls. Nobody online should be holding Josh accountable for the behavior that they helped manufacture. By early this year, the situation had hit a new low. During a chaotic trip to Japan, bankrolled by donations from his so-called fans, Josh had a very public breakdown in Tokyo, where he was screaming in the streets until Japanese police detained him for causing a disturbance.
Yeah, I've been to Japan. I've been to Japan, and from what I'm aware, there's a lot of Japanese people. There's plenty of Japanese people out there who also have mental issues similar to that of Joshua Block. And honestly, I mean, outrages like this. When I was in Japan, outrages like this were not really all that uncommon. I did see someone freaking in the subway, and yeah, I actually did see that. I didn't record it, but I actually saw that. Mind you, 2023, I've had like issues regarding ear infections. The last day in Japan before I went to the airport, I was actually like crying, like rage crying, like screaming in a hotel room because I had an ear infection. And that was when I wasn't able to handle ear infections as well as I used to now. So honestly, the end of the story is just overcome the whole thing about ear infections, you know? I know it's uncomfortable eventually. I mean, so long as it's not painful, I'll just get around it, but my past 2023 self just can't comprehend that. But other than that, the Japan trip was pretty fun until the last few days.
Footage of Josh's Tokyo meltdown immediately made the rounds on TMZ and Twitter, alternately treated as a comedy and a tragedy. It was the culmination of a downward spiral that the internet at large helped fuel and continues to fuel. What started as a young autistic man joyfully exploring his city turned into a grim spectacle of alcoholism, public humiliation, and while Josh should be held accountable and responsible for his own offensive actions, one can't ignore the environment that encouraged his worst tendencies for entertainment. Another upsetting example is Daniel Larson, a TikTok personality who became a full-blown lolcow case. Daniel's background is already tragic. He's on the autism spectrum and has been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and for years he's also been essentially homeless. In short, he was an extremely vulnerable person even before internet fame. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Daniel began posting bizarre and often confusing TikTok videos, where he'd sing off-key, rant nonsensically, or dance oddly in public. His content was weird, yeah, but relatively harmless. However, people online latched onto Larson as a figure of ridicule, and his 15 minutes of fame as a meme never ended. Instead of fading away, he became permanent prey for trolls, who realized they could easily manipulate him. It soon came to light that Daniel had a very troubled past. People on the internet soon dug up an old video of Daniel as a child in a treatment center, a facility for children who had suffered severe abuse and trauma. In that footage, young Daniel's behavior clearly showed he had serious developmental issues and emotional scars. We have failed people like this as a society. Rather than having support as adults, they slip through the cracks and get treated as subhuman. Any compassionate observer would recognize this was a person who needed professional help and structure, not torment. Disturbingly, the trolls did the exact opposite. Knowing how deeply troubled he was, they saw it as an opportunity. Larson's enablers and so-called fans began feeding his delusions and stirring him up deliberately. Fucking monsters, in my opinion. On his TikTok lives and other platforms, people would pose as supporters while giving Daniel terrible advice or false information just to see him act out. They encourage him to engage in reckless, often illegal stunts. For example, trolls goaded Daniel into harassing strangers and causing scenes in public. He came to believe this was part of pleasing his fan base. They even worked to alienate him from real-life support. Fans would applaud when he lashed out at family members or burned bridges with anyone trying to help him. In multiple instances,
They want him to burn. I like how some trolls say I'm not allowed to have friends. Because of course they're bullies.
online instigators intentionally triggered Daniel's psychotic symptoms. For instance, by validating his paranoid thoughts or telling him wild lies, purely to watch him have an on-camera meltdown. Those breakdowns, of course, would be screen recorded and spread as memes shortly after. It's hard to imagine a more cruel form of trolling, essentially weaponizing someone's mental illness for viral content. This campaign of provocation eventually pushed Daniel across a legal line. Egged on by some malicious fans, Daniel started to believe grandiose and delusional stories, including that he had some high-stakes mission to become a president and that he was being threatened by government entities. In mid-2023, he began posting threats that he was going to do violent things, apparently under the belief that it was necessary or that he was being instructed somehow. He posted videos ranting about plans to bomb the White House and other government buildings and threatening an FBI agent. Utterly alarming stuff. It's unclear if he truly understood what he was saying though. Schizophrenia plus the troll influence is a dangerous mix, but the threats were taken seriously by authorities. In May 2024, federal agents arrested Daniel Larson and he was charged with multiple counts related to threatening to use explosives. A judge ordered that he remain in custody pending trial, explicitly noting that Larson's mental health issues and homelessness made the situation especially volatile. The judge recognized that Daniel had no stable life and was acting out largely due to mental illness. Daniel was clearly both a victim of his circumstances and a danger because of how far things had escalated. It's important to stress that Larson is not blameless in this whole scenario. Making violent threats is a crime, and he's gotta face those consequences. But it is also painfully clear that online agitators poured gasoline on that fire. We can clearly see that his audience deliberately played into his delusions and egged them on until it went way over the edge. People who knew full well that he was schizophrenic and autistic kept winding him up for their amusement, like it was a long-term reality show, some fucked up version of The Truman Show. Some even justified it by pointing out that Daniel had exhibited inappropriate or disturbing behavior. But to whatever extent Daniel had problematic tendencies, the response of turning his life into a 24/7 circus only made everything worse. Even if he was a danger, turning him into an internet punching bag did nothing to protect anyone. It just turned serious red flags into laughing matters. No matter how reprehensible a person is, onslaughts of relentless trolling are not justice, it's just harassment, and they take away the seriousness of any actual allegations against these people by making it fodder for jokes. The Daniel Larson saga is a prime example of the mental health crisis we currently have in America.
Yeah, there was a comment I made. Creative Commons license. Alright.
Rather than receiving the care he desperately needed, he was left to spiral on the internet until it got to a point where nobody was laughing anymore. Alrighty, no discussion of lolcows would be complete without Christine Weston Chandler, better known on the internet as Chris Chan. Christine is perhaps the most infamous lolcow in internet history, an individual so heavily trolled and documented that some have called her one of the most documented people in existence. Her story is so long and tragic, but a brief overview shows just how far this lolcow phenomenon has gone. Christine, who is
Yeah, Chris Chan, like that was quite a phenomenon. Christine Weston Chandler. And people would often troll her and other stuff like that. Till eventually it gone so bad that she went to jail, you know? Like many people say that Kiwi Farms ratified Isabella Rajanki to get Chris Chan in prison as part of the whole trolling shit.
autistic and also identifies as a transgender woman, first became known to the internet forums in the late 2000s due to her eccentric homemade comics about Sonichu, Pikachu and Sonic mashed up. She was originally a small-time creator posting cringy content, but unfortunately, sites like 4chan and Encyclopedia Dramatica picked up on her as an object of ridicule. This was essentially the birth of the term lolcow. In 2009, a forum called the CWC Wiki was launched specifically to catalog every little detail of Christine's online life. Users on the wiki obsessively archived every drawing, video, blog post, tweet, or purchase that Chris Chan ever made, and it wasn't just passive archiving either. These trolls actively interfered in her life. According to reports, members of that forum hacked into her accounts, leaked personal emails and documents, and even stalked her in real life to snap candid photos and recordings. All of this was done to provide more milk to the lolcow community hungry for the Chris Chan content. By 2015, the CWC Wiki had evolved into what we now know as the Kiwi Farms. Kiwi Farms broadened its scope to target any lolcow, not just Christine, but she remains a central figure on the site. For over a decade, Christine was subjected to relentless trolling. Pranksters posed as online sweethearts to earn her trust and embarrass her. Catfishers tricked her into doing humiliating things on camera, and bullies constantly fed her false information to watch her react. Christine, due to her autism and other mental health challenges, often couldn't discern genuine friends from trolls, which only made it more tragic when they would later publish her private conversations or make mockery of her heartfelt confessions. This all reached a horrifying climax in 2021. In August of that year, an audio recording leaked online in which Christine seemingly admitted to committing incest. Specifically, she talked about a sexual encounter with her own elderly mother who suffers from dementia. The moment it hit the forum, it exploded across the internet. Within days, Christine Chandler was arrested and charged with a felony. The news made international headlines with many people asking, How did things get to this point? While ultimately, Christine is responsible for her actions. If the allegations are true, it's impossible to ignore that years of trolling set the stage for this disaster. Trolls had conditioned her to trust random internet people and do what they said. Actually, the leaked incest audio came about because a troll encouraged Christine to talk about what she'd done in a call, likely hoping to generate the most shocking content possible, with little regard to any consequences. Kiwi Farms users then disseminated that call.
So it's like, I wonder if they blackmailed Chris to do that.
Widely, under the thin justification that they were exposing a crime, but one can't help but see the voyeuristic glee in how it was handled. As Business Insider noted, Kiwi Farms originated from Christine's saga and still devotes enormous threads to cataloging her life. In other words, it's a community about discussing eccentric people who voluntarily make fools of themselves. The Christine Chan case shows how naive that description actually is, though. She didn't volunteer to have every private moment of her life leaked and dissected by thousands of strangers. She was targeted precisely because she was an easy target, a mentally vulnerable person whose worst moments could be milked for endless laughs. It's worth noting that Christine's life has been utterly ruined by this cycle. She spent over a year in jail awaiting trial, was shunned by most of her former acquaintances, and to this day remains a figure of infamy. The trolls often rationalize their obsession as a kind of dark comedy legend. Christine was treated as a caricature, not a human being with real emotions or pain. But behind the sensational headlines is someone with autism who desperately needed help and intervention years prior. Instead, she got internet fame of the most toxic variety. Her story serves as both the origin of lolcow culture and a giant red warning flag of how devastating that culture can be. By now, a picture should be forming of just how exploitative and cruel lolcow culture is. In each case, we see a vulnerable person's life turned into a public circus. The psychological toll of this is hard to overstate. Targets of sustained online ridicule experience astronomical impacts on their mental health. Depression, anxiety, and psychotic breakdowns are common among lolcows as they endure seesawing feedback. One minute, a flood of praise from fake fans, and the next minute, a wave of hate and mockery. Some of these individuals already had mental health challenges to begin with: autism, schizophrenia, past trauma, to name a few, and the constant harassment makes it exponentially worse. It's a vicious cycle. The more they're bullied, the more they act out or deteriorate, which then provides more content for the bullies to laugh at. It's a bit like watching someone slowly lose their grip on reality while a crowd cheers for more. For the troll communities and content creators, there's a disturbing lack of empathy, and I hate using that term because of our friend iDubbbz, but many justify their actions with a sense of moral correctness or righteousness. They claim they're holding the lolcow accountable for bad behavior, or just that it's all in good fun because the person is so weird that they deserve documentation. We see it when YouTubers make a big showing of cataloging a lolcow's every sin, as if making a supercut of someone's worst moments is a public service. Some trolls point out correctly that lolcows have done genuinely bad things, but does that mean it's open season to hound them 24/7? There are so many people that think harassment is just fine if they believe that the person they're harassing is bad. It's a warped moral calculus. Bullying is okay as long as we really hate the target. By that logic, any flaw can make someone fair game for endless abuse. And many of these harassment peddlers are actually profiting from it. They're getting paid to harass someone different than them, and they
It happened to so many people. Chris Chan, Daniel Larson, Nova Online, World of T-Shirts, Cyrax. Yeah. Exactly, you know. Oh yeah, and Bossman Jack. Of course, like... Yeah, Daniel Larson's a terrible person, but, like, come on, you need to give him a little bit of dignity here. I mean, yeah, he's a terrible, terrible, terrible person, but it doesn't mean you should endlessly bully the guy. Same with Cyrax, terrible person. Doesn't mean you get to endlessly bully the guy.
get to feel superior while they're doing it. At the end of the day, there's nothing heroic about what these bullies do. It's not vigilante justice or exposing dangerous people. More often, it's just kicking someone who's already down. In fact, it resembles a scenario we all recognize in real life. A group of kids in school picking on a special needs kid, pulling pranks on him, laughing when they're upset, making them think like they're a part of the group so they can make fun of them without them knowing. Except now, it's amplified on a global stage, and those bullies can actually make money and clout off of it. It's telling that the term lolcow itself comes from seeing the target as subhuman, as a farm animal to be milked. It's that exact dehumanization that makes it easier for participants to shrug off any guilt. Imagine you're walking around your city and you see a homeless person having a mental breakdown on the street. Most decent people would feel empathy, maybe call someone to help, or at least realize that this is someone in crisis and move along. Now imagine a crowd gathering around that homeless person and pointing and laughing at them, maybe even poking at them to get an angrier reaction. That sounds absolutely cruel, right? Yet, on the internet, this is exactly what happens in the lolcow culture.
Oh,
And
I want to add to this. I want to fucking add to this, you know. Like, Canada, United States, they're treating homelessness as a crime. Like, I think, like, I was. There was this movie I was gonna watch in theaters, I think. I wonder what it was. I just wonder what movie I was gonna watch in theaters. I was before I watched the movie in theaters. What, like, let me just research what movie I was gonna watch in theaters where it showed this ad criminalizing homelessness. But yeah, it was clearly like, how did I get this much mail? Like, there was this ad, and it was playing at a movie theater at where it was gonna watch. You know, like, I was like, they played this ad that criminalizes being homeless. Like, yeah, people get fucked over by capitalism. Let's fuck with them even more. You know, where they, I figured, where did they play this at? I know it's been quite a while ago, but let's see. Mhm. I know it wasn't. No, it wasn't Bagworm. So it must be January, right? No, May. Okay, I think the only time I went to a movie theater was in 2026 when I was watching Bagworm. Must have watched that. I don't know. Either was at a movie theater or something else. I don't. Oh wait, no, it wasn't a movie theater. It wasn't a movie theater. Yeah, it has to be later than the last time I watched a movie at a more conventional movie theater, like a big mainstream movie theater. That was Zootopia 2. That was the last movie I watched at a more accessible movie theater than the film Bagworm that I watched at the film festival. The advertisement played. There was this advertisement that played. And I'm trying to remember where I found the ad. Oh, right, right. Probably was maybe the World Cup or something else. It must be sports related that I saw on TV. It must be like some live stream event or some famous event or something. It must be that. And now they want to criminalize being homeless, saying homeless people are dangerous. Well, How about offer them fucking shelter if you wanna, like, even the deplorable ones like Daniel Larson, like, even give him shelter. All right. It doesn't matter, you know. Well, at least Daniel Larson got shelter in prison, but that's not the good ending. That's not the good ending at all. You know, he was really troubled in his life, and I know he's a deplorable person. And surely he does, some of his actions he does deserve some prison time for, you know, doing stupid stuff, but so should the people who fueled his actions. They get away scot free. Yeah, you know, they make anti-homeless architecture where people cannot sleep on benches. Well, if you don't want people sleeping